Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here, Publicly Buzzed live on a Wednesday night. A rarity, but I've got two special guests back here ready to hang and bang, and we're going to be coming at you with a little bit of craziness, and that is in the name of Sarah Boone. So stick with us. Please hit that like, share it out, let people know that you're hanging out with Publicly Buzzed here tonight. Coming at you.
Let's rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Thank you for being in here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've got a banger show for you here tonight. I've got potentially criminal LawTube Sean hanging out back here. I've got Bob Mata hanging out back here. And we're going into some Sarah Boone here. Now, Sarah Boone is my Publicly Buzzed, at least mine, I think Dan's as well, most anticipated trial coming up. When we first started this thing in November of 2022, shortly after we started doing live streams, it was one of the first things we ever actually covered. I'm really interested in everything that's going on. We have a little bit new news that's coming out. She is currently being charged with second-degree murder and has been held in the Orange County Jail without bond since early 2020. So we got 4 years in on this. She's went through 8 lawyers as of now, and it looks like, at least as of right now, she is going to be representing herself. Sarah Boone is the 9th lawyer. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I've got my guests back here hanging and banging. Let's go. What's up? What's up, Sean and Bob?
What's up, Steve-O?
Doing great.
What's up, Sean?
What's up, Bob? How are you doing? Steve, how are you doing?
Man.
I'm good, man. I'm glad that you guys are here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Bob before I actually got in here, I think I might have fucked up just a little bit by doing this on July 3rd at 8 o'clock. This is after everybody's already gotten off. You know, we're ready to go into the 4th, ready for some fireworks, ready to barbecue, get some drinks. So I might have messed up just slightly with the timing of this, but I'm so happy that you guys joined me.
Listen, man, there's always a replay crew. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. That's true.
They can watch us hungover tomorrow morning.
Exactly. They can get up, feeling a little bit shitty, throw a little PB on, watch Sean and I talk some shit about this unhinged Sarah Boone, man.
Yes.
She's next level. I was just reading her 58-page tome. I guess she wrote that one. There's one that is subsequent to that that isn't quite as lengthy as her 58-page letter to the judge. But she's Sean, you had clients like that?
I have had them before. I've been that. Hey, the public defender can't deal with this guy. Will you take him? Yeah. And I'm like, when the court asks you, you're like, sure. You don't really tell the judge no.
Right.
You build that goodwill, and then you're like, oh my God, yes. But I've represented Moors before, so I've dealt with my share of crazy people.
Oh yeah, man. It's like, that thing where the judge is like, and a lot of times you'll just happen to be in that courtroom. Like, it's just really bad timing. Like, you have another case that's up in that courtroom. Something goes awry with a defendant and their public defender, and the judge will say, oh, Mr. Mata, and you're doing it pro bono when the judge tells you to, this is going to be your new client. But it's like you said, it's really kind of a Hobson's choice. You don't really have a choice. You kind of have to do it. But yeah.
Have you guys, either one of you, ever seen anything like this though, with going through this many attorneys with a client?
8's a lot.
Eight's a lot.
Remember though, about half of them weren't her fault though. But yeah, overall 8 is a lot. But even just having 4 is a lot.
4 is a lot.
So is the next letter going to be bitching about how she can't deal with herself? She's like, I just can't handle this bitch. Like,
she sent a letter dated the 28th, and it looks like it came in. She sent the letter out saying, I heard she's trying to withdraw. Help me understand. Please understand. I want to understand. Like, help me. And
right.
I'm just looking at it right now, and yeah, it's very funny. She doesn't realize that, she's sending out a letter of just like, oh, hi, Judge, and he's already dropped the nuke.
Right. Yeah, she's definitely out of the loop. And it's like, from the lawyer's side of it, because we always are concerned about bar complaints, from our clients. And, I mean, the fact of the matter is the practice of law, you rarely have happy clients. That's just, that's how the practice is, man. It's like win or lose, especially from the criminal defense side of it. You just have miserable clients who, it's like that Shawshank line, man. My lawyer fucked me. It's like that. Yeah, it's like, every dude in prison. Yeah, my lawyer fucked me. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of.
Have you guys?
And that's the thing. Like, you talk to I had attorney so and so. That guy's a bum, but he's like, I know you're the winner. You're a real winner. I can tell. And you're like,
right. I can tell that you care about my case. Yeah. I can tell.
You're gonna be the best.
Have both of you guys seen the body cam footage in the interrogation, like to get a real good feel of her? Besides, some of the hearings that we've seen recently.
Oh yeah,
dude, she's an absolute wreck. So, I mean, the first state attorneys that we've had, she has to be. I mean, besides just being an insane person, but she has to be basically getting them to try to get a defense for what's happened, right? Which is this video that we all know about, which is absolutely horrible. But how is she, like, what do you, in your guys' opinions, what do you think is happening, baby, back behind closed doors when she's having a meeting with these attorneys and they're probably, I mean, to the best of their ability trying to get her to, I mean, she is kind of fucking herself, I'd imagine, in these private meetings, which, I mean, you can't deal with this lady, right? But is she trying to get them to go down a path of like, listen, I didn't do this on purpose. We've got to go down this path. We can't even, because I mean, the jury is going to see this video. Everybody that's already on the internet has seen this video. We already have our opinions about Sarah Boone. And when you see Sarah Boone kind of talk, what is she doing? She's like, woe me every single time, and then even in the interrogation footage, even in the body cam footage, immediately after when she called 911, she's just me. That's got to be what's happening back behind the doors with these attorneys. And I mean, that has to be unbearable. Like,
look, man,
like, how do you get a defense for this?
You get the sense from her, she's one of those, I'm the smartest person in the room type people. You could just tell from her letters.
Yeah.
She thinks
she's decently well spoken. I mean,
she is well spoken, and you just get the sense that she's one of probably, and Sean will probably agree with me. I mean, you can have clients that just think they know better than you in terms of how to proceed with the case, that, you can give them all the advice that you have, and you're trying to lead them, down the proper path, and you're trying to do what's in their best interest. And a lot of times what's in their best interest isn't what they want to hear. So that becomes a very difficult conversation. I mean, if I can look at evidence that comes in, I've got to have a frank conversation with my client and say, look, we're going to have a problem with this. I understand what you're saying to me, and this isn't me saying that I don't believe you, which really doesn't, the reality is it doesn't make a difference if we believe our clients or not. We have a job to do,
right? To
make sure they have a fair trial, make sure that the cops did their job right, make sure they understand their rights, make sure the prosecutor's playing by the book. That's what our job is. And, but clients like to hear that you believe them. But like, I don't know about you, Sean. Like, I never ask my clients, did you do it? Like, you have to tell me. I'm your lawyer. You have to tell me, did you do it? Yeah, like, I know that's not a conversation. It was the first thing my dad told me, like, coming into the criminal defense attorney practicing. Like, I never asked my clients whether they did it or not, because for two reasons. One, I mean, if you come up with a theory of defense that, flies in the face of what they told you, then, you never want to put your defendant on the stand, but sometimes you have to. And if they told you something different, I can't put them on the stand to suborn perjury. So, and the other part of it is that, like, we are humans. There is an element of morality that exists in every defense attorney. So it's like some cases are brutal. So like I don't necessarily want to know. You know what I mean? I just want to look at the evidence. I want to see what they've got. I want to make sure that they did their job properly. I want to make sure that they didn't violate, this guy or gal's rights. And, we kind of go from there, because typically if the evidence is strong, the thing is going to play itself out. And Sean will tell you as well. I mean, most of the time we're pleading cases out. I mean, that very, very rarely do they actually make it to trial,
Yeah. And I normally don't ask, but there have been a couple of times where I ended up deciding I needed to know, and finding that out was critical, because my guy was the only credible person that could tell me what happened. The victim wasn't credible. The victim was like a crazy person. It helped me figure out, okay, we actually can do something, because he had a bunch of information that nobody else knew about. And we were able to use that to our benefit. But yeah, generally, no, I don't just walk in straight away.
For sure.
I just tell people, I'm not the priest. I'm not the Pope. I'm not here to pass judgment on you. I'm here to help you.
Yep.
With Sarah, though, I get the feeling, she's thinking there's got to be a way, Oh, and
she's not listening to any reason.
No, and this is where, you try to explain to them, okay, and I've done this before, and it actually works quite a bit. You tell that person, okay, you're sitting on the jury, and you hear these facts. What are you thinking? And a lot of times people agree, okay, yeah, this does sound like a bunch of bullshit. Like, nobody's going to believe this. I wouldn't believe this. For Sarah, though, I think she does. She thinks she's the smartest person. She's super smart. She can handle this. I guarantee you she thinks she can convince a jury. She'll get up there and she'll tell them what happened. And then you explain to her, hey, Sarah, how do we work with this video? You're going to have to figure a way out around that. And I don't know in her mind what she thinks can be done. I have and as far as what these attorneys have said, as far as she's asking for unethical things to happen, I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm sure it's probably some outlandish or insane defense that, while you do have the obligation to be zealous, you got to pass the straight face test with what you're going to propose.
For sure.
And I think what she's asking is just, it's got to be borderline insane. But we'll find out, because she's going to do it.
Yeah, so, there's no question. Like, and to your point, like, that's when those conversations about what may have happened and what my client may know come about, when I get the discovery. So like that first meeting with them, I'm not asking them, but when we get the discovery and there's issues with it, either for the state or for my client, that's when we're having those conversations. And I'm like, all right, because that's when the client will say, oh, well, that's bullshit, and I can prove it. You know what I mean? It's like, I always wait until I get the discovery, and when that comes in, that gives me a pretty good idea of exactly where this thing's going to land and how I should play it with respect to my client. Yeah, with her, man, she's a tough client. Like we've had like tough clients, and they're, just trying to even have a conversation with them that's productive is like extremely difficult, because it's like I've had clients where, I have a serious case that I'm trying to handle with them, and I need them to try to be focusing on the facts and the evidence that we're going through, and all they can do is like focus on the fact that, that they're stating that they're being like tortured in the jail awaiting trial, and that's a difficult thing for, like, as his attorney, I want my client to understand that I believe them, and so, because you need for them to be able to trust you have to build that relationship, especially because these things take 2-3 years, like in a bigger case, before you get to trial. I mean, you really do develop a relationship with your client. And when you have that situation where it's a very, you really have to be walking on eggshells with respect to like, I'm not going to call bullshit on my client telling me that he's, that something that he's telling me is happening in the jail, like physically isn't capable of happening. You know what I mean? It's like where he's telling me something that doesn't exist in the world, a form of torture that doesn't exactly, like it's such a weird dichotomy. And then, I'm in a position where I'm like, all right, Alice and I are talking. I'm like, do we need to challenge our guy's competency? I mean, is this guy like he's incapable of assisting us with his own defense? And, do we need to go in? And sometimes I just want to get my client out of the jail and get him into a facility to have him evaluated for his competency, just to get him out of that environment to see if that kind of changes it out. It's like, unless you've practiced criminal defense law, like prosecutors have no clue because they never deal with defendants. It's like such two completely different jobs. It's like, that's why I always love when I talk to somebody with, that's been on both sides of the aisle, man, because they really do have insight into both sides of it. And, it's a very different experience dealing with defendants. And like Sarah Boone's a perfect example of that. I would hate to have her as a client, like hate it, cause it's like every time you're going to meet with her, you're going to be getting resistance,
And even when you're not meeting with her, calling 5 to 10 times a day. I've had clients before do this. You see it's the collect call. I know that's the jail.
Right.
I know it's the Lake County jail. And you're like, okay, well, I told them I don't take the calls, I'll be out to see you within a day or two. Just hang tight. So, okay, cancel. Like, I'll hang up on that call. And they keep calling, and it's like, boom, boom, get to voicemail. They hang up. They turn around, boom, boom, boom. Call again to voicemail, hang up, boop, and then they just,
oh my god,
they literally, and your voicemail gets blown up in the matter of like 2 minutes.
Yep.
And it's the worst when you're in the middle of a hearing and you see your phone keep going off, and then after they stop, actual people are calling, like a court's calling you or a client's calling you,
right?
And now they're like, well, God, now their voicemail, like, this voicemail inbox is full, and that makes you sound like a turd.
That's a good point.
And you exactly, it's yeah. And somebody like Sarah, I can imagine she's doing that, and I would dread going to see her.
Sean, she wrote a 58-page letter, man. Mm-hmm. Like, for a fact she's doing that.
Yeah, the last attorney mentioned that in the hearing. She actually said, she's like, I'll get a collect call from Sarah.
Yeah, you have a collect call from Sarah, an inmate at the Orange County Correctional Facility. I guarantee you there's a million of those.
Oh, a million.
Another question I've got here. So if she does end up fully just representing herself, will she just be hung out to dry? I mean, will there be like some standby attorneys that she could talk to during this trial if she goes?
It doesn't sound like it.
Really? Wow. And I mean, that almost leads me to another question of like, I mean, this is in Florida. I mean, any state that it's going to happen in, you don't want there to be any kind of like, you don't want it to seem like a bullshit trial, right? Like, I mean, well, I guess we could go back to Daryl Brooks, how fucking maddening that was to watch. Like, he was absolutely crazy. And
yeah, he was. I mean, and that was like a really tough case for the judge to handle, because
that one's hard to watch.
It was, but then you like on the other foot, you look at I forget what dude's name was, the treehouse murder guy who represented himself.
Yeah.
It did a pretty fair job. I mean, I think he walked out with a hung jury, right? So it's like, he annoyed the shit out of the judge because lay people just don't understand the rules of evidence. So like I would watch portions of that trial and see the judge getting frustrated outside the presence of the jury, where the judge is trying to explain, like, look, like you're representing yourself pro se, but I have to tell you, sir, that the rules of evidence still apply. It's like we don't get to suspend the actual rules of court just because you're a pro se defendant. You've got to follow the rules to the best of your ability, and it's like those awkward situations where like he's got to testify, you know, and like who's gonna put him on direct, you know? It's like it's such a weird circumstance.
And there's ways around that because I've actually been standby counsel before for a guy, and I just told him, when you get up there, just start talking in a narrative format, and the judge let him go. And then once he started getting out of control, the prosecutor would object or whatnot. But yeah, I've been standby counsel before, but there's nothing in the order appointing standby counsel, so Sarah's on her own.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy, man.
Oh man, dude, it's gonna be
drastic.
It's gonna be insane. Like, this is gonna be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the letters are such a preview of what we can expect from her.
I think she's starting, when you read that 58-page letter, she's starting to go down the Sav Sit hole just a little bit, but I kind of get the feeling it's coming out. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see Fort Boone this time around.
Yeah,
the boxes.
Like in either of your defense attorney opinions, like seeing what she has to work with, you know, I'm really talking about that fucking video. Like, what is her defense? Like, what has she got? What can she? Okay, I'm gonna switch that up. If either one of you were defending her, what would you be trying to get her to do? Like, it'd probably be impossible to do, but what would you be with this video? And you know it's out there, and this is going to be shown. Like, what the fuck can you do?
I think the battered spouse defense is the only thing she can try, but that all depends on what the experts will tell you. They might say, nope, this doesn't count. There really isn't anything here. Then it's you knock on the prosecutor's door, hat in hand, saying, hey, bud, what kind of plea deal can we get out of this?
Yeah.
And hope they're giving you something good.
Man.
And that's what she doesn't want to hear, dude. I guarantee that's it, right? She's like, they're like, listen, you're fucked. And she's like, no, it was an accident. It wasn't. He got in the suit. Like, we've heard how she spouts off. Like, she won't let that go.
No, yeah. And
I'm also under the impression that she did not mean to kill the dude. Like, they were fucked up that night. And in the moment, she's so fucking intoxicated when she's making that video, just talking shit to him, and then goes to sleep and goes to bed. The next morning when she wakes up, I don't think that she woke up thinking, I've killed my boyfriend. Like, she probably went to sleep in a drunken state of,
she definitely did. Like, going.
I don't think so, dude. That next day, man, no way, dude. That next day when the cops show up on that body cam footage and the first police officer showed up, dude, she is just crazy. She's crazy. But a different type of crazy, bro. She did not know what she had done. The night she's fucked up, sure, but that next morning, she didn't wake up thinking that.
Nah.
That was a complete surprise finding him in that fucking suitcase.
She didn't go to sleep. She passed out drunk.
Or passed out drunk, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
definitely a better way to put it.
Like, you know, I've been there. You know, I've been that guy where I've been hammered, and you know, I'm like face down on the couch, and I wake up the next morning. You know, and it's like, I mean, that's why they went with second. You know, that's why it's the second degree type thing. You know, like
in that fucking video, dude.
Know if she would have known that he wouldn't be able to breathe.
She doesn't strike me as she knows about positional asphyxiation.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
She's like, I'm teaching him a lesson tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the dude fit in there.
Right. Yeah, it's made out of fabric.
Right. It's a fabric thing. I probably wouldn't think that he couldn't breathe. You know, there's air holes. Like, air has to be able
the zipper. The zipper was right there, Bob. All he had to do was get the zipper.
Right, work his finger in there.
That's all she kept saying in the interrogation. It's the zipper. It's right there. He's at the zipper. No, bitch, he's dead right now, first of all.
And this is why you don't talk to the police, because when she does all this, it makes her...
Dude.
Compared to the video.
Bro, she goes back... She goes back in this fucking... Back to the police station, goes into this interrogation on her own free will, and by the end of it, after they pull up that laptop, that's the best part of the whole thing. When they're like, oh yeah, we've got your phone, and she's like, oh yeah, there's probably some pictures on there about the night. We were having some fun. We were playing some puzzles, doing some games, and this detective turns that laptop around. Bro, like, that's... And anybody that has seen that footage, if you haven't seen it, I would not recommend going and watching it. It's horrendous. It will leave nightmares with you forever. It is bad. The taunting is horrible. But yeah, man, like... I don't know. Sarah Boone is insane, though. Like, she is a nut job.
Holly Berry says, except he was yelling that he can't breathe, but like, that's always my first comeback to people saying they can't breathe. I'm like, if you can't breathe, you can't talk. Which is cool.
Well,
she was like, save your breath too, motherfucker.
Yeah, Yeah.
Cops like saying that one too.
Yeah, right.
Talking, it's like,
That's a good
yeah,
point.
and if you were choking me, I'd say help me.
You should have saved that breath, bud.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'd probably, either battered spouse or, some kind of mental defect. But, she's like they didn't have, like, Lori Vallow, which we covered that trial, and I was fascinated by her psyche. And, I was fascinated about this concept that I think that she actually believed all that bullshit. Like, truly, I really think that she thought that she was like this exalted being. And, you get to this, portion of the trial where they have to decide, and in Idaho, they don't have an insanity defense. It's not something that you can use there, but they have carved out this exception where you can use a mental defect to attack the intent portion of the statute, which I thought was fascinating. And it's a stretch for a defense, but the argument would be that, look, like, she honestly, like, and again, you'd have to have your expert saying, look, like, she is delusional as shit. She believes everything that she's saying, like, completely. And have to have them testify to that effect, and give it some kind of DSM classification, and say this is what's going on with her, but that she didn't think that she was killing human beings, that she actually thought that she was killing zombies or vessels,
Demons from hell,
whatever they were, and because then they can't meet an element of the statute in terms of the intent, that she didn't think she was killing a human being. She thought that she was freeing this dark soul from the vessel, and that was going to save their kid's soul, whatever her bizarre notions were, like. But she wouldn't allow for it. Like, she wouldn't allow her lawyer to do anything, or both of her lawyers to do anything with respect to that type of defense. And I have a feeling that Sarah Boone would be the exact same way. Like if you went at her, plus, I mean, she seems pretty lucid. I mean, like her letter writing campaign,
dude,
serves multiple purposes as far as the state's concerned. I mean, obviously it's all on the record, but in terms of kind of being able to diminish any kind of valid mental defect defense, like, they're going to be able to point to those writings that she seems to be, of a sound mind.
Yeah.
Even though, like, looking at it from the outside, looking in, you read it and you're like, wow, she's unhinged, but she's also not, like, writing gibberish.
Yeah, like, they're well put together. Like,
right.
Sometimes I've like, I haven't read every one of these letters, but I've read through some of these letters, and I've even, like, seen some of her points at times. I've been like, okay, yeah, because I mean, she's been in jail for 4 years now. I mean, a lot of that is her own doing, but she, like, will come at these judges like, we need to get this going. But again, it goes back to you hindering the process by not working with these attorneys. So
well,
I don't know, man.
Well, for somebody like her, she's kind of gaming things here. She's preying on that idea of, I have a speedy trial. I have the right to a trial. Okay, fine, we'll do it. Well, I don't want to do it that fast. Hold on, judge. That's how somebody like her does this. She's just straight up manipulating things right now. And you hear, I don't know if you heard, Steve, did you listen to her at the hearing she had?
I did, the last one.
Yeah. She's lying to me, and my constitutional rights are being violated. Which rights? Well, the ones. Those rights. And she didn't actually know which rights she's articulate. And that's somebody like her who they lie and they manipulate like that. When you actually call them out, she doesn't have an answer for it. She hopes you take her at face value.
That's a good point.
And that was the entire time in that hearing. The judge kept saying, okay, well, give me an example. Tell me what this thing is for her. And, that's once again, she's had, she thinks she knows, she has the cheat code worked out of dragging things out for now. And she just keeps on putting this crap in a letter. And then she says, oh, the whole world knows about me and they don't know the mural me. And she's done this a million times, so she thinks it's going to keep working. And
yeah, honestly,
not anymore.
odds of her seeing this interview are pretty high, it seems. She is definitely Googling herself. She knows that it's a trending topic in true crime. So,
yes, yeah. That's the funny part.
Yeah, it is funny.
But I think she enjoys that. I think she enjoys people talking about her.
Yeah, I think.
Well, she calls them her fans. She's like, I've got fans.
I think a lot of defendants, when a case starts getting notoriety, tend to enjoy that. You know, it's like kind of this whole thing. We just got out of the Karen Reed thing, and you know, with a very unsatisfying result. But you know, you look at the future. You can see the future of the impact of social media on criminal cases, man. It's a real thing. It's a scary thing, you know, and you know, and I don't think it's a good thing. And you know, and the courts are going to have to try to address it. I don't know how long you've been practicing, Sean. Like when I was in law school,
10 years now.
Yeah, like I so I got out and you know, I graduated law school 2001. So like in 1998, like one of my like 2L class, or 99, one of my 2L classes was you know, internet law, because it was like a fucking brand new world, right, man? I mean, it was like there had been little to no law written about the internet. I mean, I'm talking about back at the time when like AOL, you know, we all had like dial-up modems and shit, making, you know, those weird buzzing noises to get online, you know, just chat rooms. And like the you know, the topic of conversation is, okay, the internet's amazing because it gives us access to information at our fingertips, like basically anything that we could want to know, even in the early stages. But like, how do we monetize it? You know, and like the first things were like these, you know, like where you'd have websites where you had to be able to, in order to verify your age, you know, it had to be like a 2-step process, because like kids were gaining access to Pornhub type sites and like shit like that. And so it's like, as the technology developed, the law tries to develop with it, you know. And our newest thing is going to be AI, obviously, and how that's going to impact the criminal defense world, you know, because of the concept of deep fakes and shit like that. And just the possibilities are endless with, you know, completely, you know, just made up evidence being introduced into cases where you may not necessarily ever be able to discern whether or not it's fake, you know, when it gets to that point, and which is a terrifying proposition.
Oh, it is.
You know, and it's like, I don't, you know, it's like, yeah, there's all kinds of shit that's just like.
So what I'm hearing, what you're saying is the video that Sarah did is AI. She went ahead. She was before AI even started booming.
Set her up, yeah.
If I were Sarah Boone, that's
Sarah's only argument.
Well, and some AI bullshit right there.
And that's the thing, especially Bob, like people like you and me, all we could say is, well, counsel, how do you know it's fake? You're like, because it looks like bullshit. It's like, that's all. I don't know any better. Right. You know, we know some basics about technology.
Right.
But the one thing I will say on the opposite side of Karen Reed is, though, the amount of crowdsourcing that's out there when people, you know, yeah, those ARCA guys are really good, but people have put together some, you know, the theory about the car and the way things hit John O'Keefe, you know, there are people out there who are putting things together that, you know, can be useful and can be helpful, because I'm not an engineer. I'm not this. I'm not that. But yeah, I think ultimately, yes, it's scarier, but I still think it should be to the point where if you and Allie are sitting at home and you guys fire up the stream, you should be able to go to every state in America and you can pick like, oh, we're going to Wyoming today. What's in Sheridan County, Wyoming? Oh, court's open. Click, and you're watching what's going on there. So I still think it's ultimately the ability for the public to see what's going on.
I love the transparency part of it. I really do. I think it's so critical, you know, and I'm knee deep in the Delphi shit, and you know, that's a really pressing issue, you know, for that case. And I don't think she's going to relent. I think she's not going to allow that thing to be streamed. just going to force me to be boots on the ground for however long that trial is going to take. I guess she's given it a month now. You know, but it's like, I agree, man. We need to try cases out in the sunlight, man. It's like we can't do them in the shadows. And, you know, to me, it is a big deal because I agree. I mean, you need to be able to have the public be able to see it. And like, I don't know about you, Sean, but, you know, like for years I was telling people, like even when I started my podcast, they weren't like Court TV and Law and Crime weren't showing pretrial motion phases of big cases at all, really, until really you hit kind of like Koberger was one where you really started to see some of the pretrial. And I would tell people, I'm like, that is where the war is fought. Like, like this is where you're seeing what is going to be allowed to be introduced into evidence and what's going to be excluded.
Exactly.
And, you know, this is like when you're watching a trial, you're watching the end game of the real war, the battle that took place prior to leading up the trial, which, you know, explains to people why the hell it takes so long to get to trial. Because it drives, well, why does it take 2-3 years? Because it's a process and it takes forever. And there's a lot of calendars that have to get massaged in order to get these hearings heard. And, you know, each side gets time to respond and there's going to be multiple issues. And, you know, like, all that shit just takes time. And it's like, I love that they're showing these things now because it's like the same with like people reading PCAs. It's like people like you and I, like since the minute you got out of law school, started doing it. Like we've been reading PCAs forever. And like the general public had no idea what a PCA was until they started reading PCAs.
Dude, Koberger, was my first one.
Yeah, exactly. And Karen Reed's a great example of that. People are saying, why can't we talk about this? Why can't we talk about that? It's already been decided. And you can, you know, going back and, you know, for people to listen to Lally and Canoni make their comments and statements the way they did, yeah, people should see that because then it makes sense. Well, why are they doing these things? And yeah, you may not like why they're doing these things, but they didn't, you know, Judge Canoni didn't just start making these decisions now. She's been making them for 2 years.
Right. Exactly.
And I agree. And for Richard Allen, I mean, it's morbidly ironic because Judge Gull is the one who said, you know, we need cameras in courtrooms. Okay, cool. And now it's the biggest case of your career.
She sits on the pilot committee of cameras in the courtroom in that state. Like, dude, and it's like, like if people that aren't following the Richard Allen case and you think that Judge Canoni is a biased judge, you've got like you're about to enter a world of pain when you get introduced to Judge Gull because she has like blown my mind in terms of the shit that she's done procedurally leading up to this trial. Man, I've never seen anything like it. And Sean, I've been in front of plenty of judges that are blowing hot and that don't like Allie and I because we're aggressive lawyers. And fine, like I'm cool with all that. Like we know how the game is played. We know most judges favor the state. That's just facts. They just do. It's part of you know the mountain that we have to climb as defense attorneys. You know the power of the state is vast. You know, and it's like they have the resources and usually the judges behind them, and you know they have law enforcement, which people tend to think, you know, because they have a badge, they're telling the truth, which we're seeing more and more is not necessarily always the case, which is wonderful from the defense attorney perspective. It's like, see, we've been telling you, they're full of shit.
We try. Liars. See, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't the liar all along.
Exactly.
And I will say for Judge Gull, the only judge that's been worse is the judge in the Young Thug trial.
Oh my God.
But that's because that guy is completely gone off the reservation.
Oh my God. Well, at least he finally did something right. You know, like
I think somebody knocked on someone
here for sure.
Well, someone came and knocked on his door and was like, "Listen, honey, you can go out. You know, we'll let you go out. That you know, you can be carried on your shield or carry your shield.
Yeah,
and we'll let you walk out here with the shield in your hand, but you're not. I don't think he realizes he's. I mean, if he's not a dead man walking at this point, that's a very scary thought.
Man,
that he won't get stopped.
That whole dude, it's like, You know, and it's tough to get judges off the bench. It
Yeah.
really is.
And
You know, and it's here in Illinois, if we're seeking to have a judge, you know, we like in Illinois, like right off the bat, we have a one SOJ, a substitution of judge that we can file immediately.
nice.
If we're in our county and we know who our judges are, we know we got hanging judges, or we got judges that are, you know, tough on defendants in one way or another, or judges that would never grant suppression motions no matter what the law is saying to them. You know, we'll be like, all right, we got to SOJ this judge right away. You know, so we always get that one free bite at the apple, but we have to do it before any substantive ruling has happened. And so it's got to be quick. It's got to be 10 days or substantive ruling. So we know immediately. Like, that's one of the advantages of having a lawyer that practices in a county and knows all the judges. You know, there's no, like, especially in Illinois, like, there's no handshake deals. That shit doesn't exist, especially with Great Lord, which was, you know, where all the judges were on the take, and it like that cured like Cook County and the Collier counties of any kind of like corruption. Like they used to just, like, you know, like give me $50 and I'll make this ticket go away type shit, you know. And it was like happening all the time, and you know so that ended. But you know, man, it's like when you have a situation in Illinois, like we've had it, where we just are like, this judge is biased as shit against us and our client, and we'll move. And if we'll move to have them removed, and here, if it's a conflict, then it has to get kicked up to the chief judge, and the chief judge will appoint another judge to hear the issue. Whereas in Indiana, Gull is refereeing all her own shit.
That's the way it is for us too.
God, I don't get it.
We don't get SOJs either.
Oh, what the fuck, dude?
But we have a lot of neat things in Ohio. Like, only in Ohio, if you want somebody to face felony charges, you have to indict them. We don't do informations. We don't do all that kind of crap. So we have some neat things. Yeah, the only way you can get an information is by consent. So if the grand jury won't indict, you're SOL.
Wow.
So we have, but yeah, when I hear these states where it's like, oh yeah, we just say I want a new judge. The only time, there's only one county I was practicing in where you could automatically demand a new judge, and that was because the common pleas judge and the prosecutor were husband and wife. So if you got assigned to him initially, you had two choices. You had to sign this waiver that the Supreme Court came up with saying you promised not to raise the fact that him and the prosecutor are husband and wife as an appellate issue, or you would get thrown back into the pool and it's one of the other 9 judges. So
yeah, like in Delphi, and I hate to keep shifting over there, but like there were a couple of things that McClelland, who's the prosecutor in that case, had done where I'm like, all right, well, I'm definitely moving to have have him booted, get a special prosecutor appointed to that thing, but then you're sitting there thinking logically, do I want this guy? Like, what happens if I get a better prosecutor? Like, that's your fear, right? You're like, because like he's just a little bit green. Like he's not a seasoned prosecutor, and this is a huge case. And up until recently, he had like one lawyer helping him. He more recently got a couple, so he's got like the Stacy Diener. You know, I think she's doing all the writing these days. Like I can tell when McClelland's written something.
Yes,
we always read the filings, and as soon as Diener was brought on, I'm like that. There was a seismic shift in the quality of the legal writing that was going on, and I'm like, all right, Diener's clearly writing it. But like that was a thing where I'm like, do you want to file the motion? Because if you're asking for a special prosecutor, typically it's the prosecutor's office that does it. If they know they have a conflict, they'll typically say, well, we're just all things being equal, we have a conflict. You know, like somebody in our office worked with this person at some point, or there's some kind of like, even if it's a tangential conflict, they'll typically say we got to get out of this case, and then they'll get the special prosecutor. And here, special prosecutors float around, like they're kind of based in our capital in Springfield, and then they'll go whatever county that you need them in. And, in that case, I was just like, man, you might just want to stick it out with McClelland. It's like, because like the downside is you might get like a real seasoned special prosecutor who's like, oh shit, Now we get a real lawyer on the other side, you know.
Yeah, you're hoping he says, "Oh my God, this is a horrible case," but he also might say,
Right.
"No," he's like, "No, I can work with this."
Right. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a true thing. You know, is it better to the devil you know versus the devil you don't? And
Right.
that is a real issue.
For real.
I did want to hit you guys with one super chat I got in here real quick from John. I think I'm saying this right. John Cummion. $5 came through and said, how many days do you guys anticipate the Sarah Boone trial to last once it starts? Thanks, John.
I can't see it really lasting more than a week. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it.
There isn't a whole lot. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of witnesses, there's not going to be a ton of witnesses to call.
The officer who responded,
right?
The ME.
The thing that's going to stretch it out is just her, her lack of knowledge about how to practice is going to make it longer than it would need to be. But like if it was lawyers, they probably could have gotten it done in 5 days, I imagine. Picking a jury usually kills a day. Maybe you can squeeze opening statements in there, but and kind of start with the state's case in chief on the second day. We typically, even on a class 4 felony, which is like our lowest felony in Illinois, if we would take it to trial, it typically would take like 3 days, if it's a jury trial, if we're not going bench. And a bench trial, if you guys don't know out there, is where the judge is the trier of fact. You're waiving your right to have a jury decide your fate, and you're asking a judge to do it, and which is always a scary proposition. We've done our fair share of bench trials where the situation dictated it, but yeah, I think that sounds right. Like a week on the long end.
Be a short one.
Yeah,
it'll be over before we know it.
But going into Daryl Brooks shit, I wouldn't have guessed that thing was going to be so long either. But
Sean, that was a condensed trial. Daryl Brooks was a condensed trial. They cut out a lot of. They could have had all 70 people come in, which that would not be out. That would be within their purview to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that one had so many victims.
Young Thug's gonna go, man. Like that.
Infinity.
How far do I think it's gonna go from here? Well,
they're 8 months of calendar time in.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, 8 months of calendar time in, 100 days down.
Yeah.
I'd like to think they'll get a new judge in. This judge is gonna go, wait, we are in mistrial territory. Mistrial has to be granted. I'd like to think it's before Labor Day it's over, but then all those guys have been sitting in jail since like almost 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it's a mistrial with prejudice, but man, given what we've seen of Fulton County and what goes on down there, I kind of get the feeling this isn't going to end anytime soon.
Dude, I'm telling you. And RICO trials, if and we haven't seen many of them stream, but RICO trials are a whole different beast. Well, because that's where you have that situation where you've got, multiple defendants and multiple defense attorneys sitting in that room who all have the opportunity to cross witnesses. They're just very lengthy, complicated cases, man. And it's like that thing. I was Googling what was the longest criminal case of all time, and it was that or the longest. I think it was the preschool where they were molesting the kids.
Oh, the satanic thing.
Yeah, it was.
But it all turned out to be fake anyway.
It went 4.5 years. That thing. It was crazy. I'm like, holy shit, man. I'm like, could you imagine being on that jury?
No, and I can't imagine on this jury that these people are like, I gotta go home and make money, dude.
Right.
Because at that point, it's not like the judge can hold you in contempt. It's like, my kids won't eat.
Right.
If I'm not there.
I'm going to be evicted.
Yes. I'm going to be homeless.
We have no electricity.
Yeah. No, I don't. The way it's been going, it's insane the way they've been doing this. And the problem with Georgia is, and was listening to a couple, as much as I don't like the attorneys on law Twitter, There's a couple that are down in Georgia, and they point out that Georgia's RICO is if two people commit a crime together, that therefore equals RICO. Not that there's an elaborate structure. And it also doesn't help that watching the district attorney's office, this is one of their A teams up there.
Yeah.
And they are just bumbling and stumbling through it. Every time you point out the prosecutor's wrong, she says, apparently every accusation against her is an ad hominem argument, which I'm just like, oh my God, it's so cringe. I don't know if you've heard her, but they'll say, Your Honor, she misrepresented facts. And she'll say, Your Honor, that's an ad hominem argument. And that everything's an ad hominem argument.
Almost as if she just learned
that
what
word.
ad hominem is, and she's overusing it. I have a tendency, I learn a new word, I'll overuse it. Hey, look at this $5 word I know, man. We throw this shit out here constantly.
Getting back to Sarah Boone, though, that actually happened when I with Sarah Boone in her big letter there. It was called inimical. I didn't know that was a real word because Sarah's syntax and her grammar is not the best at times.
No, right.
I've thought about, we need to I want to send her a thesaurus. Just please take this.
Wait, did you say you want to crowdsource a thesaurus?
a good quality.
I'll Venmo you $15 There's your crowdsource.
Well, I know that. I was like, but that way I could say it came from all of us, and if everybody
it came from her fans on the internet.
Yeah,
she'd love that actually.
I say it's just you and me. Why don't we get all the glory for that shit? Sean just sent Sarah a thesaurus so she could amp up her letter writing.
Yeah. She'd be like, see, there's defense attorneys out there that love me. They would love to represent me.
Yeah, fortunately, we're not licensed, and that's the way I'm going pro hoc.
Good luck, Sarah.
Yeah, good luck, baby.
But no, I didn't know what inimical means, and it's basically obstructing and intending to harm. And somebody had, my chat would be like, no, she actually used a real word. And I'm like, yeah. Now I'm trying to figure out ways to weave that into stuff now.
Inimical, yeah. It's do you remember the game? Have you ever played the game Balderdash?
Yes.
Yeah, so that it's basically Steve, you ever heard of it?
No.
It's a great game. It's one of my favorite games. The concept of it is they're usually archaic words that nobody uses anymore, but they're all real words that all have real definitions, but 99% of the population's never heard of these words.
Gotcha.
So each person, there's one person who pulls the card, they read what the word is, they spell it out, and then that person writes down the actual definition, the reader. So then all the other players, and it's fun in a group, you have 5-6 players, they all write a fake definition, or they try to come as close as they can to the actual definition, and then they hand them in to the reader, the person who read the word, and then that person incorporates the actual definition in there, and then that person has to read all the definitions, and all the players have to try to pick which definition is the right one.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Oh, dude, it's a fucking great game.
That sounds that'd be really fun drinking too.
Oh, dude, and then they upped the game. They did it with years and acronyms and movie plots. It's a fucking.
That's cool.
I've
never heard of that
game. It's a good one, man. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Before we do get out of here, I know that Bob's got some fireworks he's going to be attending tonight. I got one more question here from a $2 holler. Afton Full Red come through. What happens if she won't follow procedural rules?
Take it, man.
Yeah, it'll be kind of like with Daryl Brooks. After a while, the judge said, I'm invoking rule whatever. I forget what rule she would invoke out of the Wisconsin procedure rules, but he'd say, your time questioning this witness is over. I'm not allowing this. Right. You're done. Your direct examination is over. Your case in chief is done. I mean, they do have the authority to terminate.
Right.
So,
and the judge will. I mean,
this one doesn't sound like he'll play around.
No, and it's going to be and you'll see, like you saw with Daryl Brooks, and she had a very high level of tolerance. Like the treehouse guy, that judge. Especially when the jury wasn't in the room, had a very low tolerance for his bullshit, and he had a very low tolerance for having it's frustrating for everybody in the room when you have a pro se defendant. It's frustrating for the judge, it's frustrating for the prosecution. If you're standby counsel, it's frustrating for everybody who knows how to practice just because it's painful. It's like it just really drags it out, and you're sitting there and you're like, what the fuck, man? They're like, because the judge they tend to give a little leeway to pro se defendants. They'll give them a little bit of leeway depending on the judge in terms of, like bending the rules of evidence slightly in order to kind of help these folks out. And the judges aren't supposed to be teaching them how to practice the law. That's not their role. Typically, if you have a judge in there with a pro se defender, you'd be like, sir, I can't answer that question. I'm not your lawyer. I'm the judge on the case. Like, you've got to go seek, go to a pro bono spot and see if you can talk to a lawyer, or, it's like some kind of place that has free legal counsel, free legal aid, and, and try to get your question answered there. But when you're in the midst of a trial and the judge knows it's got to get pushed through, like, you do see that leeway sometimes. So I don't know, man. It's going to be weird. That I guarantee.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yes. Very weird.
I think it's for October, if I'm not mistaken. Is that when they're?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not that long now.
Sean, are you going to cover Baldwin?
Yes. Baldwin's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
let's
interesting.
hang, dude. Like, let's.
Yeah, sure.
I want to have you over on my shit, and I want to come hang on your shit.
Of course.
Too.
Yeah, I think I've got most of the days. I think I've kind of moved things around, so I'm either I don't have anything, or I just got to pop out for.
Yeah, I always forget you have a real job still. It's like I'm lucky. Allie's taking the beating, and like she's letting me do my podcast and the YouTube shit full time. So
maybe she can fill in for me.
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, like hit me up. We'll
yeah,
talk.
no, definitely. But yeah, no, Baldwin's going to be great, and I don't know if you've watched the last pretrial they had, where they went like a whole day on Friday. And I skipped Kieran Reed because I thought it was going to be good. And oh my God, it was the most soul-crushing thing ever. Carrie Morrissey and Baldwin's lead attorney they are just going to go at it, and it's going to be hilarious. Oh yeah, they are very antagonistic. And the judge has told them, because they initially were acting like they needed more time. And she said, I scheduled for 8 days. You said 8 days was good enough. She said, right now I've got it broken down 5 for the state, 3 for the defense. And based on the way their video hearings have gone, she said, and defense counsel, if you take up way too much time on cross, I'll take one of your days away and give it back to the state.
Wow.
She said, you guys have 8 days. You get to figure out how you're doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she after going through Hannah Reed, she is not fucking around right now.
No, she's like that. Yeah, that one was a long one too.
When's that one start? It's this month, isn't it?
Yeah,
July
10th. 9th, right?
Yeah,
9th,
I know it was soon.
Well, the 8th and 9th are jury selection, but yeah, they're gonna do starting the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I need to watch that pretrial. Sounds like.
Yeah. It's I love when the attorneys are sniping. Like I've had cases like that, like the Garcia case in Omaha. Like we went in there scorched earth because like we don't practice there. So I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't have to play nice with any of these fucking people. Like I'm gonna go in and burn it down.
Yes.
And it's exactly what I did, and they fucking hated us. So like God, they hated us. They hated us so much, man.
It's like that movie where the guy turns in his test late, and he looks at the professor. He's like, "Do you know my name?" Professor says no, and he throws all the papers in the air. Look at the judge, like, I'm never coming back here ever again.
Ever. Right. It's like, I don't care. It's like, yeah, that was something though. But yeah, like that prosecutor, that district attorney out there, or the county attorney, they call him out there. Shoo, man, that was next level. And like that antagonism went like, because it's like, I've got this weird situation where my trial partner just so happens to be my wife, who I'm super protective of, like just in general. So like, if I feel like an attack is personal, like that line blurs for me.
It's a weird thing, man.
It's not a good thing, man. Yeah. And it's like, and I have to like take a step back and be like, all right, like I have to pretend like she was appointed along with me, and like I can't be taking shit personally. But man, it's so hard to do. And that case was just because they were coming after Allison hard. Because she was papering them to death, man. Like her motion work on that thing was fucking next level. And, she does what Allison does, I mean, she knows her shit.
Was this a pretty rural county?
No, man, it was
Oh.
actually Douglas. It was where Omaha.
Oh, okay.
It was in Omaha, which a town I actually grew to really love.
Oh.
We basically had to move there. So it was, it was probably the biggest county out there, and we had lost everything. I had tried to change venue. I'm like, we hired a polling company. I'm like, they've been trying my guy in the press for 2 fucking years. I'm like, they did a bifold of like the timeline, the state's theory of the case, like in the Omaha World Herald. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this pre-trial. This is like literally, I'm like, where did they get this information? This is insane. This could have only have come from law enforcement or the county attorney's office. This isn't out for public consumption. What is happening here? So we did that polling company, and I think we polled like 2,500 people to basically, we did ours a lot tighter than Ann Taylor did out there in Coburger. They had much broader questions there. Like here it was like, are you aware of the case? Have you read about it in the paper? Have you formed an opinion on it? We weren't necessarily getting into the details of it. And it all came back. It was like, it's like 85% had heard of the case. 80% of them had reached some kind of conclusion as to guilt or we lost it. It was crazy, dude. Like when we picked that jury, it took forever because we individually voir dired every single witness, like back in a conference room. So there was no, like, typically you'll get like a panel, they'll put 4, 6 jurors up there. Typically we do 4, and then you'll have that group there, and you question them as a group. But yeah, God, dude, that was unbelievable.
So in Omaha, there's still like them big city Chicago lawyers.
Dude,
ain't nothing but trouble.
My second season of the podcast is the Garcia case, and I'm on episode 57. Surprise! Like when I was bringing that out, I'm like, oh my God, because I brought out the Gacy season, which was great, and like we had like over 1,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts, and we were at 5. And I'm like, I tell Allison, I'm like, they hate it. I'm like, if Omaha people start listening to this shit, they're just going to like flamethrow our entire like rating on Apple, and they're going to start writing terrible shit. And surprisingly, I've had so many people come up to me like at CrimeCon and shit, and they're like, oh my God, like we listened to your podcast. We're from Omaha. And it's like, it's unbelievable. It's like, it's amazing. And, we're sorry that it went down that way, it's not me sniveling. Like I'm just laying it out exactly as it happened. Like the way that I'm doing that podcast is like, look, I'm just going to lay it out. I'm not going to hold anything back from what the state's evidence was. And but here you're going to actually hear what our defense was, because they didn't talk about it in the press ever. They did, like, we had our DNA expert was barred from testifying that the DNA wasn't. It was crazy. It was crazy. Like, again, that pre-trial shit there was next level. But yeah, it was a fascinating case, man. Fascinating case. Quadruple homicider, like like a revenge theme case. That's that case that'll haunt me for the rest of my days. It's a crazy case. All right, I'm out. I gotta go see fireworks.
All right, Bob, Sean.
Bob.
Thank you guys so fucking much for doing this, Bob. Have a great 4th, brother. I'll talk to you probably in a couple of days.
Indeed. Happy 4th, gentlemen. Yeah, Sean, I'll hit you up. Steve, I love you, man. I'll see you on the flip.
Later, dude. Sean, brother, thank you so much for coming in here, man. The first time that I've actually had you in here on Publicly Buzz, and hope you had a good time.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Always. It's a pleasure. Yeah, get a hold of me every game if you want me on.
Hell yeah, dude. Nice. Yeah, we did that one show on Hella's channel, man, and you were fucking dope. You're cool as hell, so I wanted to do this for a minute, and yeah, man, I'm super glad that we got this together.
Yeah.
Everybody that I was talking here in the chat for just a little bit. I was talking about, we normally do a show Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. My brother's in the chat there, Ricky, and he's saying that there's a possibility, and I'll fill it out tomorrow. We may cancel tomorrow, being the actual 4th, and if that does happen, the next time you will see us will be Friday night for Feral Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube. Before we figure out something to go over to Kick, we're going to be watching a movie, we'll be listening to some music, watching a show, something. But for anybody new in here, what I do want to let the true crime folks and the trial folks know, Publicly Buzz is a little bit of a different channel. We do a lot of stuff, but Sunday mornings and Tuesday nights, we do something called Murder Church. I actually watch a trial. We're currently watching the Phil Spector murder trial, which is absolute madness. Went into this because Alan Jackson is the prosecutor in this.
Yes, I was about to say there's a big tie on there. Yeah.
And so that's what brought us to this trial, honestly, by the circumstance of Karen Reed. And dude, this trial is madness. It's fucking crazy. Phil Spector is a crazy person. And he's got like 10 lawyers. And they're all crazy. But yeah, please, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, come through for Murder Church. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, come through for Murder Church. And yeah, Sean, dude, you got anything coming up soon?
Well, Sunday I might be doing something, but I also know Sunday morning is the British Grand Prix, so I watch that with my locals people.
Oh, cool. Nice.
As far as Friday and Saturday, I'm not sure what we're going to do. We might do something. It depends, guys. Tomorrow night, out here, it's supposed to be crappy and rainy, so I don't think we'll be doing a whole lot of fireworks. So we'll probably be going live on Thursday. We'll do the Thursday show, guys, but it might just be like super short and only like an hour long.
Nice. Well, hell yeah. Keep an eye out for that for sure then. Yeah, dude. Well, happy 4th of July anyways.
Yeah, you too.
But yeah, I'll be getting with you, Sean. And yeah, anybody, thank y'all so much for coming through here tonight. I appreciate the shit out of it. Enjoy the 4th. I think I'm about to go watch Return of the Living Dead.
Nice.
That movie is set on July the 3rd. And I watch it every year. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, love you guys. Sean, thank you, brother. We'll see you next time.
Night, everybody.
This verse